Namashreshtam manumapi sachiputram atra swarupam rupam tasya grajam urupurim maturim gostavatim radhakundam girivaram maho radhika madhavasam prapto yasya pratita kripaya shri gurum tam natosmi jayam vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 1. Going through the famous first 14 verses of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Day before yesterday, we read the verses describing Nityananda Tattva, the various ontological expressions of Nityananda Prabhu. And we discussed how the verses in the Nityananda Dwadasakam by His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj were based on, extrapolated, expanded upon these verses given by Kaviraj Goswami. They're based upon and expanded upon. And in that regard, the ontological expression, ontological manifestations of Nityananda Prabhu start at Anantashesh, and then the Vishnus, Kiridakshai, Garbhadakshai, Karanadakshai Vishnus. And then what? Then Sankarshan, Mula Sankarshan, in Mula Sankarshan in Sankarshan, Mula Sankarshan in Vaikuntha, Prabhav Vilas in Mathura, Mula Sankarshan Dwarka, Prabhav Vilas Mathura, Balaram Vrindavan, and then Nityananda Prabhu in Gauranga Leela. I think that's how it goes. The multiple ontological manifestations of Nityananda Prabhu. Now we are on text 12, which is to do with Advaita Acharya. Mahavishnur Jagat Karta Maya Ya Srijatyada Tasya Vatara Evayam Advaita Acharya Ishwaraha. Lord Advaita Acharya is the incarnation of Mahavishnu, whose main function is to create the cosmic world through the actions of Maya. Advaitam Harinadvaitad Acharyam Bhakti Samsanat Bhaktavataram Isham Tam Advaitacharyam Ashraye. Because he is non-different from Hari, the Supreme Lord, he is called Advaita. Because he propagates the cult of devotion, he is called Acharya. He is the Lord and the incarnation of the Lord's devotees. Therefore, I take shelter of him. Advaita Acharya. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat, there is another name for Advaita Acharya. He's called Advaita Shimha. Advaita Shimha. Shimha meaning a lion. Simha. Simha. Advaita Simha. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. I have my obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Krishna, who is non-different from his features, as a devotee, devotional incarnation, devotional manifestation, pure devotee, and devotional energy. Now, of course, there's a very famous verse that we chant every day in the Mangala Charanam, the auspicious invocation that's done prior to chanting bhajans, known as the Mangala Charanam, or the invocation of auspiciousness. Mangala means auspiciousness. Acharanam, Mangala Charanam. to invoke auspiciousness, to create a good atmosphere. This is one of the foundational verses, actually. All the verses in the Mangala Charanam are important, but this is a foundational one because it describes the Pancha Tattva. The Tattva, that is, of the 5 personalities that go to make up the Mahaprabhu and his core group of associates.
So Prabhu says he's not different from his 5 features as devotee, man, and all the other ones.
Yes.
So he's not different from Nityananda, Advaita Acharya, and all the other.
Yes. Well, ultimately, everything is emanating. Everything is emanating, coming out from Gauranga Mahaprabhu, taking different shape, different form. So it says the Supreme is one, but takes different form eternally. So the whole concept is somewhat achintya, or inconceivable, incalculable. So we have the verse Radha Krishna Eka Atma Dui Dehadari Ananya Vilasa Rasa Ashvadanakari. Radha Krishna Eka Atma, one soul. Eka Atma means one soul. Dui Dehadari, Dui 2, Deha, bodies, Dari, they've assumed 2 bodies. So Radha Krishna, 2 persons, the Purusha, we say the Purusha and the Prakriti, or in the language of Saraswati Thakur, the predominated moiety, right? The predominated half, moiety means a half. And the predominating moiety, the predominating half, in other words, the positive and the negative. Purusha, the predominating moiety, Krishna, and Prakriti, the predominated moiety, like dominant passive, or positive negative. And the predominated moiety, Radharani, the negative half. The positive half, negative half. But they're 2 halves of one. So Radha Krishna Eka Atma, one soul, but Dui Dehadari, eternally split into 2. So it's somewhat achintya, somewhat inconceivable. But then they return to one as Gauranga Mahaprabhu. They assume again one form as Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And again, we're talking about the 3rd verse in relation to this concept, and the other day in relation to the worship, the configuration of vigrahas, murtis on the altar established in the Gaudiya Math, conceived of by Bhaktivinoda Thakur and manifested by Saraswati Thakur. How the 3rd verse of the Saraswati Adi is Radha Shama Eka Tanu. So Tanu is another word for body. So Radha Sham, Radha Krishna, Eka, one, Tanu, body. Radha Sham Eka Tanu, Dakshe Gaura Rai. I have assumed one body in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Dakshe means standing on the right. So you're probably watching it online when we're talking about that. So there's no need to go over it. Radha Shama Ekatanu, Dakshe Gaura Rai. So Mahaprabhu is on the right. When we're looking at it, we see him on the left, but from their perspective, standing on the altar, he's on the right. And Bame on the left, far left, is Radha. Madhye Swayam, Krishna is in the middle. It's just describing the configuration of the deities. But I'm touching on this point because it is saying that ultimately you have the concept of one without a second. Like the verse in the Brahma Samhita, Advaitam, describing the Supreme, Advaitam, one without a second. Achutam, Anadim, Anantarupam. So, although there is unity, there is also diversity in that unity. And thus we have the concept of Mahaprabhu's Achintya Bhed Abheda Tattva, that the Jiva soul is one with the Supreme Soul, but at the same time it's distinct from the Supreme Soul. So Bhed Abhed, one, or different, Bhed means different. Different abhed, non-different. So two but one. And of course it's prefaced by achintya, which means this concept is inconceivable to the rational mind. It cannot be gripped properly by the rational mind. But in terms of divine experience, it is conceivable, because that is a divine reality. That is the deepest theological reality as expressed by Mahaprabhu. So Shankaracharya, his theology is Advaita, that in the ultimate enlightened condition, ultimate perfection is a complete merging of the individual soul with the Supreme Soul, with the Jiva with Brahman. So it becomes non-distinct. And then the likes of Ramanuja say, so, well, actually there is a distinction. Ramanuja and Madhvacharya say there is a distinction known as Dvaitavad. It's Madhvacharya's theology, Dvaitavad, two. Dvaita means two. So Mahaprabhu synthesizes that, and he says, Achintya Abhed Abhed. So the soul and Brahman, or Jiva and Brahman, or Jiva and Bhagwan, are one yet two. So they're one in quality, but say, one way of describing it is that they're one in quality, but two in quantity. But nonetheless, the substance is the same. So we see it expressed here in this verse, that although they are all one in nature, in term the quality begins to change, and the form changes. So we have the concept of unity and diversity. Although they're unified, there's also diversity there. So we have the Panchatattva. And Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam, Bhakta Rupa. Bhakta Rupa refers to Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Bhakta Rupa means the form of a devotee. So Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam. The five tattvas, Ro Krishna. First one, Krishna is his devotee, Bhakta Rupa. And then Swarup, a manifestation of that. A second, say an initial manifestation. Initial manifestation from the original root. Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam. So it refers to Nityananda Prabhu. Bhaktavataram refers to Advaita Acharya, the avatar or incarnation of devotion. Bhaktakyam refers to Srivas Thakur as the head of the devotees. And Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. So Bhakta Shaktikam refers to Gadadhar Pandit. So that's a mantra to the Panchatattva. It's the primary Panchatattva mantra. It's one of the core mantras in the Mangalacharanam. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. I have my obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Krishna, which is Krishnam. Bhakta Rupa, non-different from his features as a devotee. Devotional incarnation, Bhaktavataram, devotional manifestation, Swarupakam, pure devotee, Bhaktakyam, and devotional energy, Bhakta Shaktikam. Then we have text 15, Jayatam Surato Pangor Mamamanda Matirgati, Matsarvasva Padambo Jo Radha Madana Mohano. So we're all familiar with this one as well, because it also features in the daily Mangalacharanam. Glory to the all-merciful Radha and Madan Mohan. I am lame and ill-advised, yet they are my directors, and their lotus feet are everything to me. So when Kaviraj Goswami was, after he was requested by the Vaishnavas to write Chaitanya Charitamrita, he sought further authorization from Radha Madan Mohan, as we've mentioned a few days ago. And the garland fell from Madan Mohan, which is a sure sign of blessing for the project. So this verse is to Radha Madan Mohan, and is given first. This is a set of 3 verses, and these 3 are given here. The next one is Divyad Brindaranya Kalpadrumadha Srimad Ratnagara Simhastanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prestalibhi Sevya Mano Smarami. In a temple of jewels in Vrindavan, underneath a desire tree, Sri Radha Govinda, served by their most confidential associates, sit upon an effulgent throne. I offer my humble obeisances unto them. So first we have Radha Madan Mohan, and then Radha Govinda. And then the third verse in this set of verses is Shriman Rasa Rasa Rambi Vamsi Vatata Tashrita Karshan Venus Vanir Gopi Gopinatha Shriestuna. Sri Srila Gopinath, who originated the transcendental mellow of the rasa dance, stands on the shore of Vamsivat and attracts the attention of the cowherd damsels with the sound of his celebrated flute. May they all confer upon us their benedictions. So this order of verses, we may say, oh, these are all deities of Radha Krishna. First we have Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Govinda, Radha Gopinath. They're all deities of Radha Krishna. These verses just happen to be in that order. But it's not the case. These verses are not just, inadvertently placed in that order. It's an intentional order from Madan Mohan to Radha Govinda to Radha Gopinath. These are the deities of Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami. And Sanatana Goswami, so they all have a corresponding theological, conceptual position. So in terms of the jiva's relationship with Bhagavan, you have Sambandha Gyan, which is a knowledge of the relationship, theoretical knowledge of the relationship of the soul with God. And then Abhideya Gyan is an awareness of the practice, the process of applying that theoretical knowledge to reconnect oneself with God. And Prayojan Tattva, Prayojan Gyan, is Hare Krishna, is the realization of that practice, the achievement of your objective. Prayojan means the goal. So the achievement of the goal. And each of these acharyas or Goswamis, Sanatana Goswami represents Sambandha Gyan, Rupa Goswami represents Abhideya Tattva, and Raghunath Das Goswami represents the achievement of the goal, Prayojan. And so their deities also are the deities of the same category. So Radha Madan Mohan represents the initial category of Sambandha Gyan, a theoretical understanding of one's relationship with Krishna. So the Sanatana Goswami and his deities are represented by, or we could say represent, Sambandha Gyan. They embody Sambandha Gyan. And then Rupa Goswami and his deities, Radha Govinda, they are connected to Abhideya, the process, the practice. And Raghunath Das Goswami and his deities, Radha Gopinath, they embody Prayojan Tattva, the achievement of the goal. In Kolkata, Gurudev intentionally established Radha Madan Mohan. And then in Navadvip, Radha Govinda, Gandharva Govinda Sundar. And then at Hapanya, Radha Gopinath. Text 18. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda, glory to Advaita Chandra, and glory to all the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. 18 Takora Gaudiyaki Kariyachena Atmasat Etinira Charana Vindon Tine Moranata. These three deities of Vrindavan, Madan Mohan, Govinda and Gopinath, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Grantera Arambe Kare Mangala Charana Guru Vaishnava Bhagavan Tinire Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Tinira Smarane Haya Vigna Vinashana Anayase Haya Nija Vanchita Purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Se Mangala Charana Haya Trividha Prakara Vastu Nirdesha Asirvada Namaskara. The invocation involves three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. Pratama Dui Sloke Istadeva Namaskara Samanya Vishesha Rupe Dui Tup Prakara. The first two verses offer respectful obeisances, generally and specifically to the Lord, who is the object of worship. Tritiya Slokete Kari Vastura Nidesha Yaha Haite Jani Para Tatvira Udesha. In the third verse, I indicate the absolute truth, who is the ultimate substance. With such a description, one can visualize the supreme truth. Chaturta Slokete Kari Jagate Asirvada Sarvatra Magiye Krishna Chaitanya Prasada. In the fourth verse, I have invoked the benediction of the Lord upon all the world, praying to Lord Chaitanya for his mercy upon all. Se Sloke Kahi Bhayavatara Karana Panchashasta Shloke Kahi Mula Prayojana. In that verse, I have also explained the external reason for Lord Chaitanya's incarnation. But in the fifth and sixth verses, I have explained the prime reason for his advent. These were the important verses that we're talking about, by the famous ones. The first one by Rupa Goswami, Arnapita Charim, and then the other two by Swarup Damodar Goswami, explaining the identity, explaining the essential identity and inner purpose of Mahaprabhu. Oh, better late than never. Hare Krishna. Wow, these roses are amazing. Ooh. Jai. Homegrown roses. Yeah, they must be. Just amazing smell. You'll never get a rose with a smell like this from the florist. Yes, this is the fruit of your bhakti, Devananda Prabhu. So those three famous verses. So as we were talking about the other day, the first one by Rupa Goswami, Arnapita Charim, describes the external function of Mahaprabhu as distributing the Yuga Dharma, the spiritual practice most suitable for this era, Yuga. Yuga is an era, and Dharma, in this sense, in this context, refers to the spiritual practice that is most effective for this particular era. And then Then the next verse, text, what is it? What does it say? Text 5. The verse ending, Radha Bhava Duty Sivalitam Nomi Krishna Swarupam. This is one inscribed on Gurudev's Samadhi Mandir, Temple of Love and Affection. It's by Swarup Damodar Goswami, describing the deep identity, the Swarup Damodar Goswami's deep vision of Mahaprabhu's identity as Radha Krishna combined. And then verse number 6, also by Swarup Damodar Goswami, describing Mahaprabhu's inner reason for his descent, which is essentially to assume, to taste the feelings, love, etc. of Srimati Radharani. So Kaviraj Goswami says, in that verse I have also explained the external reason for Mahaprabhu's incarnation, but in the 5th and 6th verses I have explained the prime reason for his advent. E chaya sloke kahi chaitanyera tattva ara pancha sloke nityanandera mahatva. In these 6 verses I have described the truth about Lord Chaitanya, whereas in the next 5 verses I have described the glory of Nityananda. And as we've explained, in those 5 verses, Nityananda Tattva is explained and then extrapolated, expanded upon by Guru Maharaj in his Sri Nityananda Dwadasakam. Ara dui sloke advaita tattvakyana, ara eka sloke pancha tattvira vyakyana. The next 2 verses describe the truth of Advaita Prabhu, and the following verse describes the Pancha Tattva. Of course, that is Pancha Tattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Vataram Bhakta Kyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. E Choda Sloke Kari Mangala Charana Tanhi Madhye Kahi Sabha Vastu Nirupana. These 14 verses therefore offer auspicious invocations and describe the supreme truth. Sabha Shrota Vaishnavere Kare Namaskara E Sabha Slokere Kare Artha Vichara. I offer my obeisances unto all my Vaishnav readers as I begin to explain the intricacies of these verses. Sakala Vaishnava Suna Kari Ekamana Chaitanya Krishnera Shastra Mata Nirupana. I request all my Vaishnav readers to read and hear with rapt attention this narration of Sri Krishna Chaitanya as inculcated in the revealed scriptures. Sakala Vaishnava. What other verse starts with that? Sakala Vaishnava Pare Mora Namaskar Iti Kichu Aparadna Hukka Ama Hoi Chain Hoi Ben Prabhu Rajata Bhakta Jan Vandana Kori Ami Sakala Charan. Sakala Vaishnava means all the Vaishnavas. Sakala Vaishnava Pare Mora Namaskar. I offer my obeisances to all the feet of all the Vaishnavas. Iti Kichu Aparadna Hukka Amar, for asking forgiveness for any offences I may have committed. Hoi Chain Hoi Ben Prabhu Rajato Bhakta Jan, all the Vaishnavas before and after. Vandana Kori Ami Sakala Charan. Vandana. I offer my obeisances, Kori Ami Sakala Charan. And to all their lotus feet I offer my obeisances. It's a very nice verse, that one, isn't it? Sing it, we should know it. Because some devotees know Vanchakalpa Tarubhyas Cha Kripa Sindhu Bhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. They don't know the second one, which is also in our book, so they should know it.
Well, I always say the third one.
Sorry?
I always say that one.
Sakala Vaishnava Pade Mora Namaskar. Yes, it's nice.
That's the most important one.
Yes, well, it adds to, Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyas Cha Kalpa Tarubhyas. I offer my obeisances to the Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyas Cha, wish-fulfilling trees of the devotees. Kripa Sindhu Bhyeva Cha. Ocean of mercy, Kripa Sindhu Bhyeva Cha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo, they rescue the fallen souls. Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha, I offer my obeisances to the Vaishnavas, who are like wish-fulfilling desire trees. They are oceans of mercy, and they patitanam pavanebhyo. They lift up the fallen souls. They are oceans of mercy. They are desire trees. I offer my obeisances to them. And then the specific one about forgiveness of offences, that Sakala Vaishnava Pade Mura Namaskar, Iti Kichu Aparadna Hukama. Hoichain Hobin Prabhur Jatib Hoichain Hoibin Prabhur Jatu Bhaktajan Vandana Koryami Sakala Charan. Sakala, all the Vaishnavas. Sakala Vaishnava Suna Kari Ekamana. Chaitanya Krishnera Shastra Mata Nirupana. Ekamana, with a one-track mind. Single-mindedness. So he's saying, I'm requesting all my Vaishnavas to please hear Chaitanya Charitamrita with a focused mind. Ekamana. Or, translated here, is with rapt attention. Suna. This narration of Sri Krishna Chaitanya which is in accord with the revealed scriptures. Text 32. Krishna Guru Bhakta Shakti Avatara Prakash Krishna Chaya Rupe Karina Vilas. Lord Krishna enjoys by manifesting himself as the spiritual masters, the devotees, the diverse energies, the incarnations, and the plenary portions. They are all 6 in one. He's referring, again we have the same concept of unity and diversity. Beda Bed. It is, again, to the rational mind, to the faculties, human faculties are not able to really comprehend this. It's adhoxaja, beyond the realm, perception and comprehension of the senses. Not just the senses, but also the subtle faculties. So not just the 5 physical senses, but also the subtler faculties of mind and intellect and ego. Adhoxaja, beyond the purview of any of the instruments that are essentially of the Maya Shakti. But it can be directly experienced by the Atma, in its purified state. So Kaviraj Goswami is referring again to the very first verse, which is Vande Gurun Isha Bhaktan Isham Isha Vatarakan Tat Prakasham Chatas Shakti Krishna Chaitanya Samyakam. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the spiritual masters, 1, the devotees, 2, incarnations, 3, plenary portions, 4, energies, 5, and the Lord himself, number 6. So he says in text 32, Lord Krishna enjoys by manifesting himself as these things, spiritual masters, devotees, energies, incarnations, plenary portions. They're all 6 in one. Echaya tatvira kari charana vandana pratame samanye kari mangala charana. I therefore worship the lotus feet of these 6 diversities of the one truth by invoking their benediction. And he repeats the verse. Vande Gurum Isha Bhaktan Isham Ishavatarakan Tat Prakasham Chatat Shakti Krishna Chaitanya Samyakam. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the spiritual masters, the devotees of the Lord's incarnations, his plenary portions, his energies, the primeval Lord himself, Krishna Chaitanya. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Use this bookmark, I think. So read, that is the conclusion of the conclusion of the Mangalacharana and his brief explanation, Kaviraj Goswami's brief explanation of the Mangalacharana. And then he unpacks it somewhat and talks about who exactly these instructing spiritual masters are, and elaborates further on the 6 categories of spiritual master, avatar, prakash, which means expansion, and shakti, energies, the Lord himself, and who else? The devotees. So in the next multitude of verses, in the next quite a few verses, perhaps for the rest of the chapter, Kaviraj Goswami elaborates on those 6 items. He unpacks them and explains those 6 items further. The spiritual masters, the devotees, Avatar, Prakash, Shakti, and Swayam Bhagavan, original, primeval Lord, Mahaprabhu himself. So we read a little from Devotional Treasure Chest by Srila Bhakti Rakshak Srila Deva Goswami Maharaj. Vaishnav Seva, Guru Seva, Vigraha Seva, and Nam Seva are all recommended. But in Kali Yuga especially, the service of the name has been given as the most general approach. It is mentioned, Sadhu Sange Krishna Nam E Matra Chai. We must climb up to the real plane where we can take the name proper. Vaikunta Nam Grahanam Asheshagha Haram Vidhu. Srimad Bhagavatam 6.2.14. It is true that an infinite magnitude of sin may be removed by one name, but that must be Vaikunta Nam. It must have the characteristic of Vaikunta, the unlimited plane of eternity, not only the physical sound. So Sadhu Sangha is necessary. The name must be taken from Gurudev. With the company of Sadhu, the name must be taken. So 2 criteria mentioned there. The name must be taken from a qualified guru and then chanted in the company of devotees, in company of sadhus. Not that one just acquires a set of beads and just starts chanting by themselves. It may be of some limited value, but the sound itself, the point made just before, the sound itself is ineffective in producing the results ascribed to Krishna Nam. And they're quite fantastic results. If we look at Rupa Goswami's verse, Tunde Tandavani Ratim Vitinute Tundavali Labde Kana Kroda Gadambani Gatayati, that one. The effect of Krishna Nam is quite extraordinary, stunning the senses, completely taking over one's consciousness. So powerful that one desires millions of ears, infinite tongues to chant, etc. So that kind of effect is there, potentially, but there's certain criteria that need to be met. Basic one. Preliminary ones being that, as Guru Maharaj says, the name must be taken from Gurudev, and with the company of sadhu, which means devotees, the name must be taken. Nam Sankirtan means to preach the name, what the name is, and the 10 offences against the name. There are also 4 abhas, or shadowy expressions of the name. They should also be eliminated, and the real name, which is one and the same with the Lord, should be taken. The greatness and magnanimity of the name is so charming. The name is the Lord Himself. In this way, by taking the name, Nam Bhajan, or Kirtan, we can be saved from the external contamination of the forces of the world of karma, or gyan, exploitation and renunciation. These are the 2 great enemies of devotion, bhukti, mukti, spriha. The tendency to exploit and its opposite, the tendency to renounce. Neither the negative nor the renunciation of the negative can be a real positive. A third thing is necessary, and that is constructive, full in itself and perfect. Positive is not mere withdrawal from the negative side. The positive has got its own characteristics. So we must come in connection with the positive. Sat Chit Anandam, Satyam Shivam Sundaram. We must connect ourselves in all phases, whatever is possible by us. Grihe va vanete take ha goranga bole dake. It doesn't matter whether one is a householder or a sannyasi. The extent to which he has intensely engaged himself in the service of the Lord, that is to be seen. A grihastha may even be above a sannyasi. During the time of Mahaprabhu, so many grihastha devotees were there, but the real spirit is all Gauranga. See, the real spirit is all Gauranga, meaning that their spirit, their essence, their hearts were captured by Gauranga. Their entire life's attention and focus was Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Guru Maharaj says, "We found in our young days when we joined the non-cooperation movement of Gandhi that there were so many volunteers who had left everything. But when the police were coming, they were fleeing for fear of their life. Still, we found that a Grihastha like Chittaranjan Das and others, with all their family members, were giving resistance to the police attack. Although he was a Grihastha, he sent his son to prison and his daughter and his wife to police custody." Gandhi remarked, "I envy your situation." As a Grihastha, he was living like a fully attached man. But in the real work of supporting the cause, he was no less than one who had left everything and dedicated himself wholly. A family man may not be afraid, whereas others may be afraid. Therefore, service is necessary. In whatever position he may be, it does not matter much. When the necessity will come, even a worldly-minded householder may sacrifice the whole for Krishna. In the case of Harishchandra, for example, he was a king for the truth, as he could conceive of it. He left everything for the cause that he loved. So wholesale dedication, the internal hankering, the fire within, is the real necessity. It may not be found in a sannyasi, but may be found in a grihastha, vanaprastha, brahmachari, or anyone. We want the substance and not the form so much. The burning fire of separation from Krishna is the real wealth, just as with Sri Chaitanya Dev. His separation from Krishna was so intense that he couldn't sleep or take food. His separation was so intense that at night he tried to get out of the house, although it was all locked. He jumped the walls of the house, practically unconsciously, fell in front of the Jagannath temple and fainted. What degree of separation is found in him? It is not possible for us to conceive the degree of feeling that was there. Sometimes he rubbed his face against the walls because he could not get out and go to his Lord. We remember reading these pastimes being referred to by Guru Maharaj here are given in the later chapters of the last few chapters of Antilila, as we would have been reading a few weeks ago. Mahaprabhu's Vipralamba Bhav, those expressions. All right. Jai Srila Bhakti Rakha Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yaravaya Namaha.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yaravaya Namaha.
Yaravaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopala Govindam Sri Madhusudan. Giri Radhe Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita
Bolo Hari Pasha Vrindavan. Guru Vaishnava Pare Bhajaya Nana. Guru Vaishnava Pada Padma Koya. Harinam Sankara Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Nityananda Gaur, Jaya Nityananda Gaur, Jaya Nityananda Gaur. Jaya Nitai, Jaya Nitai, Jaya Nitai, Jaya Nitai. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Jai Sri Hare Shri Guru Gauranga Sundar Radha Giri Hare Ki Jai.
Jai.
Swami Maharaj Gurudev Ki Jai. Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakha Srila Swami Maharaj Ki Jai. Swami Vishnupad Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Brahmacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Vishwavaranya Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Samaveda Vaishnav Mandala Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai, Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat West London Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Jai Go Premanand.